arteries for powering electricity. When the artery is burst, then the entire system collapses. Vandalizing gas pipelines is a criminal offense against the Nigerian people. Join hands to protect our gas pipelines from the enemies of Nigeria. Report any suspected vandal to the security operatives. Let us stop vandalism before they destroy our collective national heritage, so we can have the Nigeria of our dreams, where we light at all times. This message to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
The finals of the Men and Women African Cup of Nations. It's always frenetic. On days such as this, there are no tribes. Region, here.
Our are getting better and fresher. And it's because we are thinking about you. NTA, it's all about you.
You are watching NTA, Nigerian Television Authority. For more information and news updates, visit our website at www.nta.ng, or you can follow us on Twitter, NTA News Now, or you can like us on Facebook at NTA Network News. Stay connected on our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/NTA News Online. Watch at www.nta.ng/live. NTA, you can't beat the rich.
The music of my childhood was completely British and American.
So my
Hello. Let's spend the next 90 minutes or so looking at what's making the news across the nation today. For starters, Ogoniland waits with eager anticipation for the dawn of Thursday, the 2nd of June. That's when the much talked about cleanup will be launched. We'll bring you reports on preparations for the D-Day. In other news, there isn't going to be a reversal of the new electricity tariff. But then the federal government has set up a committee, as it promised, to look into the grievances of labor regarding the increase in the pump price of petrol. There's so much more ahead on News Extra with me, Aisha Bello Mustafa. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. President Muhammadu Buhari has restated the commitment of Nigeria towards supporting the Niger Basin Authority in implementing well-articulated operational plans aimed at preserving the region for enhanced socio-economic development. This was when participants to the extraordinary session of Council of Ministers of the Authority visited him. State House correspondent Adamu Sambo reports that the president also engaged the governors of Niger and Edo states on issues of security and governance.
President Muhammadu Buhari conferred with the Council of Ministers of the Niger Basin Authority as chairman, heads of state and government of the region. Minister of Water Resources Suleiman Adamu, who led the team, said the operational plan, in line with the shared vision of the member states when implemented, will provide job opportunities for the unemployed in the area of agriculture, especially livestock and fishery, as well as the conservation of the basin's natural resources. He said an institutional framework containing binding principles and shared strategies is also being developed towards providing solid foundation for cooperative development of cross-border water resources. Records show that about 350 investments and capacity-building actions have already been selected by the Niger Basin Authority to benefit the 9 member countries of the region to the tune of $7.2 billion. President Muhammadu Buhari, who noted the likely impact of the investments on the living condition of the basin's population, said efforts will be intensified towards achieving a more coordinated and cooperative management of the basin in order to achieve its full potentials. Meanwhile, Governors Abubakar Bello of Niger State and Adams Oshomole of Edo State were granted audience by President Muhammadu Buhari on critical national issues.
I believe President Muhammadu Buhari is driving Nigeria in the right direction, and we just need to be patient a bit. Nobody's fault that the price of oil has gone down. It's nobody's fault that we're facing difficult times, but hopefully things will improve. But we should all make sacrifices, and I believe we'll start seeing positive results.
I think that the president has shown leadership. He has shown determination to keep the country going. For once, we are enjoying respect beyond the boundaries of Nigeria. I think we ought to be able to build on that. This president deserves the support of everyone.
Governor Bello of Niger State in particular briefed the president on the violence that erupted in Pandogari area of the state, sparked by alleged posting of a blasphemous statement on a social media.
I have since instituted an investigation panel. The situation is calm now. This is unacceptable, and anyone involved in this will be severely punished.
Adams Oshomole, on his part, lamented over the renewed hostilities in the Niger Delta, describing it as unfortunate and inimical to the development of the region and Nigeria.
I think for all of us in the South-South, we need to recognize that it is a matter of our own enlightened self-interest that will make the region the most investor-friendly. That even the challenges we face, the assets that we're talking about, they are not just national assets, they are our own assets. It is what makes the South-South the hub of the Nigerian economy. If there are environmental issues arising from certain negligence on the part of the key oil players, that, as the president has shown, for the first time, a commitment to clean up Ogoniland and any other place that has suffered from pollution. Those are the things we all ought to work together to encourage the president and the federal government to continue to do. But to compound those problems by breaking pipelines, spilling crude oil, and destroying farmlands, destroying waterways, I cannot possibly see anybody benefiting from that.
He described steps taken so far by the federal government towards addressing the situation as appropriate. From the State House, Adamu Sambo, NTA News.
Now, before calling on the president at the State House, the Niger Basin Authority held a roundtable on the program of the Integrated Development and Adaptation of Climate Change. Musbah Danwahab was there and now reports.
Already adopted by the servants of heads of states and governments and worked out by the extraordinary session of the Council of Ministers, PDAC is a component of the 2016-2024 operational plan of the NBA. The program seeks to strengthen resilience to climate change for over 130 million people living in the basin. For the implementation of the operational plan, $7.2 billion will be required. Out of these, $3.11 billion will be needed for the climate change resilience program. But then, only 10% of the total amount will be financed by the member nations. This has necessitated an improved commitment of the technical and financial partners.
And that's why we are having this meeting, this roundtable of partners that they can contribute to the implementation of our project.
Then, President Muhammadu Buhari charged member nations to complement the efforts of partners to ensure sustainable management of natural resources in the basin.
Specifically, the program aims to reduce the silting process of the Niger River, improve people's adaptive capacity to climate change, and improve the management of natural resources and the integrated management of ecosystems, protect biodiversity, and restore soil fertility.
The African Development Bank is already committed to put a lot of resources in this PDAC project. And we are also trying to get resources from the Green Climate Funds and also from other partners, bilateral and multilateral donors.
To ease the burden of member nations, a new sharing formula has been developed. In this, Nigeria will now contribute 21.2% of the sum as against the 30% she used to. The extraordinary session also adopted the technical committee's report on a supplementary budget for the NBA 2016 budget. In Abuja, Musbah and Wahab, NT News.
Moving on to the National Assembly now, where the Senate has passed for second reading the bill for an act to amend the National Lottery Act to facilitate the generation of more revenue for the nation. National Assembly correspondent Muhammad Ali reports that the bill for an act to amend the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board Act also passed second reading.
Debate on the general principles of the bill for an act to amend the National Lottery Act 2005, sponsored by Senator Dino Milaye from Kogi State, led three other bills slated for Wednesday's plenary.
This bill is therefore an attempt to reposition the National Lottery Commission to realize its full potentials as a veritable source of revenue generation that can impact the GDP significantly.
At the time we have a dwindling oil income, it is important that we all put our thinking cap on how to support the government to raise more money internally.
This amendment will help in ensuring that more is paid into the coffers of the Federation.
Similarly, the bill for an act to amend the Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board Act, sponsored by Senator Joshua Lidani from Gombe State, was overwhelmingly supported by senators.
The major amendment to this bill, as already resolved by this Senate, is to ensure that results validly obtained by any candidate seeking admission into any tertiary institution through an examination conducted by JAM and meeting all the requirements set by the body shall remain valid for 3 consecutive academic years. The prayers of this bill, if allowed, will create more confusion than it set out to solve.
Those in favor that this bill be read the second time say aye, and those against say nay. The ayes have it.
After debate on the general principles on the bill seeking to establish the National Research and Innovation Council, sponsored by Senator David Umaru from Niger State, and the one seeking to establish Physiotherapy Postgraduate College of Nigeria, sponsored by Senator Sam Anyanwu from Imo State, they were both stepped down for further legislative consultations. The Senate received reports of its committees on land transport, on the bill to repeal and reenact the Nigerian Railway Corporations Act, and that of the public procurement on the bill to amend the Procurement Act 2007. A minute silence was observed by senators in honor of 2 former senators, Umar Hambagda from Borno State and Martin Ofiawani from Ebonyi State, who died recently. From the National Assembly, Mohammed Ali, NTA News.
In another development, the House of Representatives has passed for second reading a bill for an act to penalize torture and inhuman treatment. National Assembly correspondent Ignatius Nkwo reports that this is one of the 13 bills passed at Wednesday's plenary.
The House passed the bill to ensure that the rights of persons, including suspects, detainees and prisoners, are respected at all times. A bill for an act to amend the Corrupt Practices and Other Related Offences Act 2000 to, among other things, modify the definition of bank and money instrument and review the composition of the ICPC also passed at third reading. A bill for an act to amend the Firearms Act 2004, sponsored by Representative Olusegun Odebomi from Ondo State, which seeks to increase penalties for offences, passed at second reading.
Security challenges facing this nation is on the high rate, and we should be looking for a way. How do we get to the root and the deep of what is causing this problem?
Members passed for second reading a bill for an act to provide for the Institute of the Telecommunication Service Tax, sponsored by Representative Sahid Fijabi from Oyo State.
This bill obviously is trying to target the high spenders on
these communications networks.
If I'm paying 1,000 a day for my telephone, there are some taxes that should be deducted from it, from this service provider.
Because I know in some countries they don't produce anything, they don't export much, but the general tax that is enough to run their activities. So this is one area, issue of taxation is one area that we should be particular about.
The House advised the federal government to enforce local content policy in budgetary procurement as moved by Representative Mojid Alabi from Osun State.
On the Federal Ministry of Finance, the Bureau of Public Procurement, and the efficiency unit of the Federal Ministry of Finance to ensure compliance with the Nigerian Oil and Gas Content Development Act 2010.
Two members from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, Representatives Tony Woye from Anambra State and Emmanuel Odende from Benue State, defected to the All Progressives Congress, APC. 7 reports were considered, and one of them is that which seeks to establish the Nigerians in Diaspora Commission. That bill, well, seeks to engage Nigerians living abroad in the development of Nigeria. From the National Assembly, Ignatius Nkwo, NTN News.
The acting chairman of the Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, Anthony Aka, says the recent 45% increase in electricity tariff in Nigeria cannot be reversed. He stated this at the public hearing on the increase in electricity tariffs before the Joint Senate Committee on Labor, Employment and Productivity and the Committee on Power, Steel Development and Metallurgy. National Assembly correspondent Grace Oyenubi has the details.
Respond to the question that I posed to you in respect of the compliance with the directives of the National Assembly.
Were we consulted? If power is not available, it can be affordable, it can be accessible.
The customers are bearing the brunt of low efficiency by these companies. I don't want consumers to bear the burden. If the power provider feel that they will not get a full recovery of the investment that they have made, they won't invest.
Senate President Bukola Saraki was represented at the opening of the public hearing by the Senate Deputy Chief Whip, Senator Francis Ali-Mikena.
Our people want to pay for efficiency, not inefficiency. We have called this public hearing and policy dialogue today to garner the opinions and strategies of all relevant stakeholders.
The joint committees are mandated to conduct the 2-day public hearing after organized labor staged a nationwide demonstration on the increase in electricity tariff on the 8th of February 2016. From the National Assembly, Grace Oyenubi, NTA News.
Now let's turn our attention to the big buzz in the South-South. The federal government will flag off the long-awaited cleanup of Ogoniland this Thursday. This is coming 5 years after the United Nations Environment Programme turned in a report on polluted communities there. Here is a report on the journey towards the historic launch of the cleanup. Ogoniland in the Niger Delta has suffered from continuous environmental degradation from oil spills ever since the start of oil production.
Our mangroves and all those things are dying. We don't have mangrove forests, they stay, they die. We don't go to Isamu, we don't have Ingbe. These are little things we used before to help ourselves.
In 2009, the federal government of Nigeria commissioned the United Nations Environment Programme UNEP to carry out an environmental assessment of Ogoniland. The UNEP report was released on the 4th of August 2011, and former President Jonathan set up a presidential implementation committee to review its findings.
To adhere to the report is what we've been going up and down for almost 5 years. People of Ogoni are suffering. They have destroyed their land beyond limits. In fact, from the report, it said it will take generations for the impact of the oil spill on Ogoni to be remediated and cleaned up.
Sequel to consultations, the Hydrocarbon Pollution Restoration Project was established in July 2012.
set up HYPREP without any legal backing. So HYPREP died on arrival.
Despite various promises by the previous administration, both at national and international fora, the planned cleanup of Ogoniland did not see the light of the day. In August 2015, premised on his electoral promise, President Buhari, within 3 months in office, directed the release of $10 million and other key decisions to fast-track the implementation of the UNEP report. The Federal Minister of Environment initiated informal meetings with key stakeholders.
Currently, what we are here for is to begin those activities towards the launch of the cleanup. We believe that we can't just launch the cleanup and then have a break where expectations are not met. People have not understood what it is that we intend to do. So this is just one of the many activities that we hope to have in terms of stakeholder dialogue.
The federal government, through the Minister of Environment, assured a cross-section of Ogoni indigents that government intends to use the cleanup to kickstart a sustainable livelihood agenda for the Niger Delta that is less dependent on oil.
President Muhammad Buhari makes the intention, he creates the momentum with which to make this real, but for it to be sustained requires all of us.
The Minister of Environment also explained that emergency measures for ensuring community access to potable water, development of community engagement and communication plan, as well as dispute resolution mechanism will be ensured.
This is the beginning of the end of the struggle. Therefore, we need everyone to stand united. The issues, the challenges, the injustice, those who have lost their lives to the struggle, did it in the name of the unity and peace and prosperity for Ogoniland.
Granted that government is a continuum, it is instructive why the current Nigerian leadership is taking on the task to pull the area and the region from oil-instigated ecological disaster. Aisha Bello Mustafa. And from Port Harcourt comes a report that preparations are at an advanced stage, just as expectations are high among the Ogonis ahead of the planned flag-off of the implementation of the UNEP report. Kingsley Amajiri visited Bodo City, venue for the flag-off exercise, and filed in this report.
The visit is President Muhammadu Buhari's second visit to Bodo City, the first being as a military head of state, where he launched a fish farm in the area. The fishes, however, have been consumed by the oil pollution.
The first time Mr. President visited this farm was in 1984 as an head of state. And that day, the fish he caught in the cooperative's farm was as big as I am. By today, the farm is gone.
The flag-off program would herald an end to a long journey by the Ogonis for the remediation of oil-devastated environment, opening yet hope for an inroad to the restoration of a habitable environment. Already, a combined team of security agencies are networking for a safe land, water, and airways, preparatory for President Buhari's visit. Some local people and stakeholders who, though reflected on the consequences of a polluted environment they are confronted with, express hope for a better future if the program is implemented to the latter. Meanwhile, as part of measures to enhance security during the president's visit, Governor Nyesom Wike, in a statewide broadcast, placed a ban on the operations of motorcycles and tricycles in Gokana and Kana local government areas between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. on Thursday, 2nd June 2016.
River State has been peaceful and must remain so during and after Mr. President's visit. The security agencies have accordingly been directed to arrest and prosecute any.
Spoke about tomorrow's cleanup launch. They were guests on NTA's breakfast program, Good Morning Nigeria. Take a look.
5 years after the United Nations Environmental Program turned in its report on polluted communities in Ogoniland, and in response to several agitations from right groups in the Niger Delta area, particularly the people of Ogoni communities in Rivers State, the Minister of Environment, Amina Mohammed, says the President will flag off the cleanup project of the affected communities on Thursday.
As we start in Ogoniland, and I think it's important to say the UNEP report addresses Ogoniland only, there are other types of oil spills that have happened in the wider Niger Delta. In fact, over 60% of them are third-party breaks, so they're illegal breaks of pipelines. It's a different kind of pollution. It's not just mechanical failure, equipment failure from oil companies, which is one tragic aspect of it. So we'll be looking to see, get a baseline for that and begin to articulate a roadmap for the rest of the Niger Delta as we concentrate on beginning in Ogoniland.
Other guests on the program are optimistic in the federal government's effort, but stress that the recommendation of the United Nations Environmental Report be strictly adhered to in the cleanup.
The government has to be painstakingly careful in screening the kind of people that will be on the board in terms of implementation.
There are lacunas, policy trust issues, mutual disconnect. Those areas need to be fixed with these engagements. And I think that there must be an emergency response unit under this ministry now that should begin to look at the quick wins and respond immediately to those ones, leading to the long-term 25 years set down goal.
They stressed the need for active cooperation between all stakeholders, as well as instituting a clear roadmap for monitoring and evaluation, as well as accountability in the use of funds set aside for the restoration of the region. In Abuja, Abdulmalik Adio, NTA News.
Not oblivious of the challenges in Nigeria's oil and gas sector, President Muhammadu Buhari appointed himself Minister of Petroleum Resources and a technocrat, Dr. Emmanuel Ibe Kachuku, his deputy. With the controversial subsidy on petrol in a regime of reduced oil revenue topping critical concerns, what measures were adopted to address the new reality in the sector? Over now to energy correspondent Hawa Salu Adama for answers.
Be it for good or the not so desirable, as the sector that pays the piper, Nigeria's oil and gas industry without doubt for many years occupied a center position. So when the revenue from this sector took a downward trend just before the inception of the Buhari administration, concerns were raised, unexpectedly so, considering that though it is a producing country, there was high dependence on the importation of refined petroleum products, as the 3 traditional local refineries were already incapacitated following the constantly vandalized pipeline network carrying crude to the refineries. Marketers and importers of the product were owed several millions of naira, and the forex to bring in more products were scarce. And the last 1 year truly saw Minister Kachuku initiated into governance in Nigeria, especially as number 2 to President Buhari in heading the highly volatile sector.
You must remove the shackles to enable the company to be able to do well.
And to remove the shackles meant a total overhaul, which started with the reorganization of the NNPC, the National Oil Company, into 5 autonomous business units, 2 service units, and a lean corporate headquarters.
Those in and of itself are indicative of will to move the country in the right direction.
After employing all strategies, including the introduction of a price modulation mechanism in January 2016 concerning the price of petrol, the ultimate action had to be taken: the removal of the highly controversial subsidy on petrol.
We share the pains of Nigerians. Indeed we do. But as we have constantly said, the inherited difficulties of the past and the challenges of the current times imply that we must take difficult decisions on this sort of critical national issues. We believe that in the long term, improved supply and competition will drive down these prices to a point where they are manageable. The DPR and PPPRA have been mandated to ensure strict regulatory compliance, including dealing decisively with anyone involved in holding petroleum products.
2 things will happen. There will be more money to government to spend on social infrastructure and development, and then there will be efficiency in the system.
We try to check issues of collusion to make sure that at least it is a free market, that people operate freely. It's not a question of people gang up and then start thinking of what price they could sell. Because the templates there will continue to monitor the market fundamentals to advise.
The strategy that we are adopting is to ensure that every day we are monitoring both at the retails and at the depot.
that the downstream subsector of the petroleum industry dominated other areas in the last 1 year is not in doubt. However, with the renewed onslaught on oil installations in the Niger Delta region, stakeholders say it is one area that deserves greater attention, considering its effect on total crude oil production, which Nigeria desperately needs to boost at this time.
So far, reports indicate that no fewer than half a dozen critical crude oil and gas pipelines have been blown up despite attempts by government to embark on the cleanup of Ogoniland.
In Abuja, I'm Hawa Salihu Adama, NTA News.
The federal government has constituted a technical committee to look into labor's grievances arising from the increase in the pump price of petrol. In a statement from the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, the committee is made up of 5 members from the NLC, 3 from the Trade Union Congress, and 8 members from the government side, to be chaired by the Minister of Labour and Employment, Dr. Chris Ngige. The committee is to be inaugurated by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation on Thursday, the 2nd of June, at 3 o'clock in the afternoon at the Office of the Secretary to the Government of the Federation. To security matters now, the Defense Headquarters says the military will not relent in its efforts to flush out saboteurs masquerading under any guise to perpetrate evil acts in the Niger Delta. A statement signed by the Acting Director Defense Information, Brigadier General Rabi Abubakar, said the military will not jettison its constitutional responsibility of ensuring peace and security in the country. The statement, however, noted that the military is not unmindful of the campaign of calumny against it by the same group wreaking havoc on critical national assets so as to divert attention. Brigadier General Rabi Abubakar, however, assured that the security measures is not meant to intimidate any innocent individual, but to bring normalcy to the land, and urged communities and well-meaning Nigerians to cooperate with security agencies. You're watching News Extra on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. Still to come, cheering news for rail travelers. Soon, very soon, a high-speed train will shuttle Abuja-Kaduna. The details just ahead. Join us again.
If you hear a bomb explosion or gunshots of an active shooter, that might be a terror attack. At such times, always remember 3 action words: run, hide, report. Don't try to run towards the terror scene to save the situation, because there might be a second bomb blast or another attack. Run far away and take cover. Make sure you are safe first. Yes, it is in our nature to sympathize over the hurt, but remember, only trained personnel can help in such situations. When in a secured environment, promptly call relevant authorities and help will come. For anonymous reporting, call 09630-3250-5 or 0813-2222-106. If you see something, say something. Nigeria unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
As the sun rises over the hills of Abuja, so too dawns a new way of life and exquisite standard of living. Enjoy your own originally designed and quality built home in the serene and secure environment of Sunrise Hills. Experience this uplifting lifestyle with breathtaking views of the city. Rise above. Sunrise Hills is unlike anything you've ever seen before. A new way of life is dawning in the heart of Nigeria.
The land is green. Yes, the land is green. The federal government is working diligently to keep the land green. In line with the vision of government, the Debt Management Office is committed to managing Nigeria's debt as asset for growth, development and poverty reduction. Be a part of building a better Nigeria by investing in FGN bonds. FGN bonds offer several benefits to investors. Principal and interest are guaranteed and secured by the federal government of Nigeria. They are listed and traded on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. They can be used as collateral for borrowing. Investors receive guaranteed competitive fixed income every 6 months, as well as principal amount at maturity. You can invest as little as 10,000 naira in the FGN bond. To be part of this great offer, see your stockbroker, banks or discount houses for details. TMO, using FGN bonds to support sustainable economic development.
The Senate Committee on Agriculture and Rural Development invites the public and stakeholders to a one-day public hearing on the following bills: Nigerian Agricultural Quarantine Service Bill 2016, Food Security Bill 2016, and Nigerian Institute of Soil Science Bill 2016. Date: Thursday, 2nd June 2016. Venue: Conference Hall 022, Senate New Building, National Assembly. Time: 12 noon. Invited guests include the Honorable Ministers for Agriculture and Rural Development, Finance, Justice, Water Resources, Budget and National Planning, Science and Technology, Health, Environment, Education, amongst others, and all relevant stakeholders. Special guest of honor: Senator Dr. Bukola Saraki, Senate President; Senator Dr. Abdullahi Adamu, Committee Chairman. Announcer.
Pension. The future starts now. As President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, President, Federal Republic of Nigeria, visits River State for the flag-off of the UNEP report on the cleanup of oil-impacted sites in Ogoniland, the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, welcomes His Excellency. Mr. President, we assure you that the NDDC, through the Niger Delta Region Development Master Plan Forum, will mobilize and coordinate support of various stakeholders to make the cleanup a success. Mr. President, thank you for keeping your promise to the Niger Delta people and the Ogonis. NDDC is committed to the cleanup and staying clean of the Niger Delta region. NDDC, making a difference.
We are here to serve, and indeed, Nigerians will get the service they have longed for and which they rightly deserve.
The leader today that we have in Nigeria is one the world has been waiting for. Nigeria is seen in a new and a different, very positive light.
With what President Muhammadu Buhari is doing, our economy will be strong and resilient to withstand the shocks.
He wants the best for this nation. We want the best for this nation. Our aspirations should be to put this country first, and together we shall make progress.
If we don't believe in our own country, nobody will believe in our own country. So we must make sure that we continue with the trajectory. We don't want to make a mistake of the past.
This president has a singular opportunity to make that difference because the whole country is behind him.
And by the grace of Almighty God and the sheer will and determination of the Nigerian people, we will come out stronger and more united than ever.
Welcome back to News Extra. Chief Judge of the Federal Capital Territory, Justice Ishaq Bello, has promised to draw up training programs that will help media practitioners and the judiciary understand each other's mode of operations better. He gave this promise at a one-day roundtable on court proceedings and the media, which was held in Abuja. Judiciary correspondent Femi Okewo tells us more.
In a typical newsroom setting, one ingredient that is heavily relied upon are the use of facts. So it is with the courts. The courts rely on facts to arrive at their decisions. And so the roundtable sought to know why these two professions would be poles apart when it comes to carrying out their duties. It is in this light that the Chief Judge of the FCT promised to contact the Education Committee of the National Judicial Council to arrange training programs that will help the media and judiciary understand the workings of each other.
All we are after, by your functions, by your various schedules, whether you are in the print or electronic media, and whether you are a judge or an advocate from the bar, the whole thing at the end of the day is towards nation building.
NUJ President Waheed Odushile, along with various other speakers, spoke about the inhibitions in reporting court proceedings by the media, their uses and abuses.
We need to train our journalists covering judiciary to understand what the judiciary is all about.
Now with me is the immediate past chairman of Lawyers in the Media in Nigeria, an arm of the Nigerian Bar Association. And he is the president of the Law, Media and Social Development Initiative.
We must measure our colleagues in the media, also measure our colleagues in private practice, measure our colleagues as members of the bench and see how well they are doing.
The Chief Judge of the FCT High Court was given an award at the roundtable. In Abuja, Femi Okewo, NTN News.
Nigeria's first high-speed rail plying the Abuja-Kaduna route is expected to commence operation in 2 weeks' time. Minister of Transportation Chibuike Amechi made this known during a test ride on the new coaches. Here is Oyinaya Kalu Oka with details of that report.
The Minister of Transportation Chibuike Amechi, while on a test ride, said he is impressed with the level of work at the Idu station in Abuja and the Rigasa station in Kaduna.
2 weeks now, they will do test run of the track, just test run without passengers. After that 2 weeks, they will take another 2 weeks to do test run with passengers, free of charge. And that will take us to the end of June, which means first week in July, we believe that the president will come and flag it off for commercial activities.
On security, the minister said about 1,000 police personnel will be deployed and passengers are to board with identification card.
Within this 1 month, they should start making sure that people who will use the train actually have a form of identification. It doesn't necessarily have to be the national ID card, but we will not let you in if we don't know you.
Acting Managing Director, Nigerian Railway Corporation, said the corporation has emergency equipment in case of eventuality.
We have rescue equipment. We are going to further improve on emergency equipment because this is going to be at higher speed.
The 186-kilometer standard gauge rail line from Abuja to Kaduna with 9 stations can travel at the speed of 150 km per hour. In Abuja, Oyinaya Kalu Oka, NTN News.
Now to another mode of traveling. Road transportation plays a critical role in the socio-economic development of a developing country like Nigeria. In this report, Works correspondent Ismail Musa takes a look at efforts by the present administration to accord the road subsector the desired attention.
Most of the nation's federal roads predate Nigeria's independence. With poor funding and maintenance issues, these roads have been in a state of near total collapse. To accelerate rapid development of the nation's roads that bear more than 70% of movement of people and goods, the present administration appointed a technocrat and a seasoned administrator as the new minister of the new ministry.
Even at the provisions that have been made, they were not released. The monies were not paid. So what I'm getting from our contractors on the average is that they have received monies for 3 years. So that's the negative position from which we start.
In the 2016 budget, the Federal Ministry of Power, Works and Housing has been allocated 433.4 billion naira. 62% of the budget, amounting to 268 billion naira, is dedicated to the road sector alone that has more than 200 ongoing critical projects.
I think the government should pick up that issue quickly and conclude the road sector reform. Conclude by having to get the bills out and creating Federal Road Authority and the National Road Fund.
With more than 500 billion naira infrastructural deficit, the administration on assumption was not deterred in its determination to complete ongoing projects. Some of the critical road projects in the budget include the rehabilitation of Odukbani-Ikotek-Bene Road in Cross Rivers, dualization of Kanu-Kasena, rehabilitation of Ilorin-Jebamokwa, and the Apapa-Oshodi Road in Lagos State. Others are the ongoing Abuja-Lokoja Road, Second Niger Bridge, and the Loko Uweto Bridge project, among others. Ismail Musa, NTA News.
Nigerians have been reassured of President Buhari's commitment to creating a more diversified, sustainable and inclusive economy that guarantees development. Talatu Ezirike reports that this was part of submissions of discussants on NTA's current affairs program, Tuesday Live. Take a look.
Coming on the heels of economic downturn, insecurity, corruption and impunity that were almost the order of the day, President Muhammadu Buhari is resolute in building a new Nigeria.
I can confirm thus far, significant amount of assets have been recovered. A considerable portion of these are at different stages of recovery.
Analysts noted that the task of nation building is a collective responsibility and solicit the support of Nigerians with developmental steps taken by the present administration, which could be painful.
Whether we like it or not, the time of El Dorado is gone. People should be realistic enough. I don't go getting a degree now simply because somebody is going to employ me. Immediately I come up with a degree. We have to be realistic and ask ourselves, what can I do? What can I contribute to the economy?
If you look at the Asian tiger countries, it was in situations of recession that they were able to tighten their belts. They rejected the IMF palliatives and looked inwards.
We are complaining that there's no money in the country. When you see some of the things going on in the states, you begin to wonder whether they create their own money, whether they have their own mint. But they don't have. It is the same federation account they depend on.
Other speakers expressed optimism with plans to save foreign exchange by fast-tracking repair of refineries and the diversification drive for industrialization.
The government needs to do what I called intellectual surgery to the Nigerian economy.
There are so many programs of creativity, talent, services that will generate revenue for the country. Empower one youth to empower four.
No doubt Nigerians are in for a better deal, especially with 2016 budget provision of ₦500 trillion for social inclusion to tackle unemployment and poverty. Talatu Ezirike, NTA News.
In the meantime, the Special Advisor to the President on Media and Publicity, Femi Adesina, has urged the public relations practitioners and other professional bodies to support the present administration's various reform programs aimed at changing the country for the better. He was speaking at the closing ceremony of this year's Nigerian Institute of Public Relations Children's Day Festival in Abuja. Timothy Yusuf reports.
Speaking on the theme Managing Brand Buhari, the special advisor described his principle as an embodiment of discipline, integrity, transparency, incorruptibility, modesty and above all, a unique individual who is always a delight to work with. He called on Nigerians to keep faith with the administration's genuine desire to restore the lost glory of the country in all ramifications.
no matter what those in government do, if the image is wrong, then they will not go far. Some people say when you emphasize corruption too much, it rubs off on the image of the country negatively. But that is why you have the PR professional. He can work on the image of the Nigerian, work on the image of the country, and the anti-corruption war can still go on at full steam. So everything balances.
Members of the NIPR lauded Femi Adesina's calm disposition in the pursuit of his assignment and called for their inclusion to serve the administration in laundering the image of the country, which they said was hitherto battered.
My program for the future is to have a stable, free, solid country.
Series of lectures centered on the theme, the role of youths in Nigeria's fight against corruption, dominated discourse at the event. In Abuja, Timothy Yusuf, NTA News.
The wife of the president, Mrs. Aisha Muhammadu Buhari, has reaffirmed her determination to remain focused in improving the lives of women and children in Nigeria. Mrs. Buhari said this at the public presentation of a compendium of speeches she delivered within the first year of her advocacy initiative. Let's get more on this from State House correspondent Aliu Kabir.
In line of the philosophy of my husband, President Muhammadu Buhari, this administration is an open one, and it is for all Nigerians. We all know our great country is facing some challenges in the areas of security, unemployment, and corruption, among others. We cannot fold our hands or close our eyes to leave government alone to carry these heavy responsibilities. I sincerely believe that collectively and individually we can come up with practical solutions that will facilitate answers to these ill affecting our society, especially women issues.
The wife of the president, Mrs. Aisha Muhammad Buhari, outlining her advocacy initiative plan at the inception of President Muhammad Buhari's administration 1 year ago. In line with that commitment, Mrs. Buhari has been working round the clock in synergy with critical stakeholders cutting across non-governmental organizations and other development partners, as well as wives of the governors, in an effort to improve the lives of women and children. The development led to the establishment of Future Assured initiative of the wife of the president, meant to bring succor to the lives of women, children, and other vulnerable groups. For instance, within the year under review, the Future Assured has touched the lives of over 18,000 women and children in Nigeria through the provision of free medical services on various ailments affecting women and children. The program has touched the malnourished children at the IDP camps and orphanages. This success story, recorded within the year, informed the documentation of the speeches of the wife of the president towards alleviating the suffering of the less privileged members of the society, as well as to provide an opportunity for a review mechanism in order to strategize for the years ahead.
She started this journey by getting the women to believe that change was necessary.
I'm going to end the session by sharing with you Her Excellency's future plans as far as the ongoing efforts of improving the health and well-being of the citizens of this country are its concern.
The event also
resilient, dogged and enterprising constitute about half of the nation's population. And as the last general elections show, their voices were loud, their votes powerful. So it was gratifying that President Buhari had inception established a template for a better deal for women, with a compelling pronouncement that at least one female be appointed a member of the Executive Council in every state, a directive that made some states have 2 or more female members.
And of course, there are still many more appointments that will come. So we expect that to happen. But most importantly, let's look at ourselves as women. In the position you are, how many women are you lifting up? This administration wants to take care of the poor woman, every woman. The professional woman wants to create an enabling environment and generally make our system much better for every one of us to live in.
there has been a regression in what was done in terms of appointing women.
But how enabling is the environment to achieving a 50-50 by 2030 for women?
Let our belief and love for women participation transcend beyond the words of mouth. Let us begin to walk the talk. I stand today hard. Vote for the Nigerian woman.
And we are going to do massive campaign to make them realize that being a woman is not a disability.
A good percentage of women reside in rural areas and faced with challenges that include poverty, access to land or capital, poor labor and neglect. The trends are being marked for redress, gauging the 2016 budget with provision of 500 billion naira for social inclusion to tackle poverty.
It's targeted at giving loans to market women and artisans. It's targeting at conditional cash transfers to the really very poor.
Rural women, poor women have been neglected for too long. And Buhari administration is saying no more to that. So it's put in place poor policies that will help women in little businesses.
But for some islanders, there's a need for more. Of concern is tackling the challenges of the environment and climate change for women, which is one of the critical components and platforms of action of Beijing Plus 20.
If government can help out in bringing environmental friendly stuff that will not pollute the environment, that will not help, cause disaster to those women that are using firewood because of the carbon that is emanating from it, is going to help them a lot.
The scorecard might just call for celebrations to consolidate on gains for women. Talati Izarike, NTA News.
Let's head now to Gusau, where the leader of the All Progressive Congress, Bola Tinubu, has commended Zamfara state government for championing the cause of the party. It was in his message at the inauguration of a number of developmental projects in Gusau. Jamilu Ibrahim Gusau has more.
The APC national leader represented was in Zamfara state to inaugurate some projects as part of activities to mark the 2016 Democracy Day. He inaugurated the newly completed work on the renovation and expansion of some healthcare facilities, as well as the construction of township roads in Anka, Bukum, and Gumi local government areas executed by the state government. The 20-kilometer roads constructed at the headquarters of the 14 local government areas and some major towns of the state gulfed over 47.5 billion naira. Minister of Works, Housing and Power, Babatunde Fashola, inaugurated some of the newly completed rural electrification projects and power substations at Anka, Bukum and Gumi local government areas, while Governor Aminu Waziri Tambol of Sokoto State inaugurated similar work at Gusau and Safe towns.
I am personally greatly impressed by what I witnessed today with my own eyes.
Similarly, former Governor of Zamfara State, Senator Ahmad Sani Rima, and a renowned Islamic scholar, Sheikh Dahiru Bauchi, inaugurated some mosques, Arabic schools, and a Zakat Plaza constructed by the state government.
Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has guided us over the period of the 5 years, and we pray He will continue to guide us for the betterment of Zamfara people.
In Gusau, Jamil Ibrahim, NTA News.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar is advocating true federalism to operate in Nigeria with less powers devoted at the center as the only way to calm down sectional agitations in the country. He said this at the public presentation of a book. Abdullahi Garba Barnokodo reports.
Former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, who chaired the book launch, went down memory lane and faulted the current federalism, which he says needs restructuring. He suggested more devolution of powers, doing away with issues of settler-indigent dichotomy, decentralization of the police, as well as relocation of Niger Delta Ministry to the region as solution to the uprisings.
We now have the ridiculous situation where the federal government creates local governments, enshrines them in the constitution and allocates resources directly to them, with people even calling for more autonomy from state governments. Today, virtually every section of our country feels marginalized.
The likes of former Minister of Education Dr. Obi Ezekwesili further brought to the fore salient points on the issues raised in the book.
Before independence, we managed to coalesce unity in order to face the colonial masters. We got them out the door. As soon as they left, we should have had a conversation. on what kind of a nation we will build.
The 214-page book with 43 articles reflects on divisiveness among Nigerians and how to intervene.
And when you read the book, it drips with a passion for Nigeria and how Nigeria can be saved from implosion.
I think the book is titled "We Are All Biafran," and it has nothing to do with the Biafra agitation or the call for secession. The purpose is to provoke discussion or debate about Nigerian unity and say, why do we have this flashpoint?
The title of the book, "We Are All Biafrans," may sound alarming to many people, but the true situation is that reading this book will help in understanding the true federalism of Nigeria and also enhance national unity. In Abuja, Abdullahi Garba Bornokudu, NTN News.
For a bit on politics, the Board of Trustees of the People's Democratic Party has formally reopened the sealed party secretariat as part of its efforts to bring back normalcy in the leadership of the party. To this end, the BOT members held an interactive session with the staff of the party to get them back to work. Here again is Abdullahi Garba Barnokudu.
After more than a week under lock and key on the instruction of the police to ensure law and order, the PDP National Secretariat is now back to normal. The BOT members, led by its chairman, says they will temporarily use the Secretariat to continue work of reconciliation and rebuilding the party.
We have gone very far in resolving this problem. We are making contacts, we are making consultations.
Concerning the caretaker committee, as you know, there are conflicting court orders. That matter is being resolved.
Other speakers commended the staff for having faith in the PDP and urged them to persevere.
All of us, as members of the PDP, we have equal responsibility in making sure that we reposition the PDP positively before the Nigerian people.
PDP was faced with leadership crisis after two parallel conventions that produced three leaders. In Abuja, Abdullahi Garba Bornokudu, NTA News.
Do stay with us here on News Extra. There's business news coming ahead. What are experts saying about fiscal and monetary policies? Join us again.
As President Muhammadu Buhari, GCFR, President Federal Republic of Nigeria, visits River State for the flag-off of the UNEP report on the cleanup of all impacted sites in Ogoniland, the Niger Delta Development Commission, NDDC, welcomes His Excellency. Mr. President, we assure you that the NDDC, through the Niger Delta Region Development Master Plan Forum, will mobilize and coordinate support of various stakeholders to make the cleanup a success. Mr. President, thank you for keeping your promise to the Niger Delta people and the Ogonis. NDDC is committed to the cleanup and staying clean of the Niger Delta region. NDDC, making a difference.
What?
What are you doing? Stop! Stop! Hey.
Begins with you and me. Know your neighbor. Be vigilant. Be security conscious. Report suspicious persons, objects and movements to the police and other security agencies. The security of our nation is a duty for you and me.
If you see something, say something. Nigeria, unite against terrorism. This message is brought to you by the Federal Ministry of Information and Culture.
Hello again, you're watching News Extra on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. To business news now, government has been advised to evolve appropriate monetary and fiscal policies that will address the prevailing structural deficiency and rising inflation, which experts say is at 13.7%. Let's join Amechi Pius for more on the business news segment.
Hello, and it's good to have you join us on Business News.
Nigeria's monetary policies have not been as effective as they ought to have been. This is because the transmission channel has been weak and the absence of the fiscal side of the economy. Experts say this is why the country's inflation rate has increased, eroding the purchasing power of the citizens.
We've seen inflation trending northwards to 13.7%. We saw a GDP growth rate of 0.36% negative. We've seen an unemployment rate each up to 12.1%. We have also seen a trade deficit of about 184 billion for the first time in 7 years.
Although it's been quite challenging for local manufacturers, the Director General of the Lagos Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Muda Yusuf, is of the opinion that government achieved important milestones in the last 1 year.
For quite a while, we have clamored for a flexible exchange rate regime, and government has acknowledged that, and government is already doing something about that. We also are happy that some very important reforms are now taking place in the petroleum downstream sector. We're also likely to see quite a number of investment, a number of jobs created as a result of the investment that we follow.
And that's business news. Thanks for watching.
Seplat Petroleum Development Company PLC has continued to deliver exceptional performance in its operations. This is despite the shed in the global price of oil. The company exceeded production targets in 2015. This has led to a declaration of an interim dividend of 4% per share, which translated to a total of 8% shares held by investors in the year under review. Abdullahi Muhammad has the details.
A quorum of all the stakeholders formed and the annual general meeting kick-started. Chairman Seplat Petroleum Development Company PLC, Dr. ABC Ojako, told the shareholders that the company dealt with the global fall in the price of oil by adopting an extremely disciplined approach to capital expenditure. He emphasized that the company's gas revenue grew by 185% 6 months into a strategic investment to expand capacity in urban.
The successes that we've made as a company are those we have planned and we have executed. Those successes include our increasing production, increase in our reserves, the very aggressive development and commercialization of our gas reserves, building very strong balance sheet.
Also significant for the company, according to the chairman, is that none of its facilities in the Niger Delta suffered any form of attack.
One of the strongest points of our company that distinguishes us and differentiates us from the rest is our engagement of the host community.
The exceptional performance recorded by Seplat Petroleum Development Company PLC during the year under review, the company's Chief Executive Officer Austin Avru said, was as a result of the management's commitment to excellence.
And so we emphasize building up our reserve base, well-executed growth of our production, and well-executed growth of our gas business. And those three combined have always been the core of our strategy plan.
Seplat Petroleum Development Company PLC is the first indigenous oil and gas company to have a dual listing on both the Nigerian and London stock exchanges. In Lagos, Abdullah Muhammad, NTN News.
One of Africa's largest telecommunication companies has honored several individuals for nominating their communities in the MTN What Can We Do Together intervention project. Annie Daniels has the details.
The What Can We Do Together initiative, MTN management says, is to reach out to more Nigerians to improve their livelihood. The initiative is also expected to implement 200 projects in 200 communities across Nigeria. Chairman of the foundation, Prince Julius Adeluyi disclosed that under the first phase of the initiative, 37,000 nominations were received and several projects have been successfully completed in various communities across Nigeria. The initiative focuses on provision of electricity transformers, schools furniture, boreholes, support for orphanages and economic empowerment.
We spent some 18 billion on this. So we're asking ourselves, there must be a better way or a different way of impacting on the people. Remember that the whole philosophy is about service to the people.
When you have a little bit of hitch when you are using your mobile
phone. Don't just condemn MTN, because that's not the only aspect of MTN. It has also other areas whereby they touch the lives of ordinary Nigerians.
Awards were presented to several nominators.
Very proud that MTN chose my nominated orphanage, and then they also came to their help.
Nominated my community for a borehole project.
MTN management says the phase 2 of the initiative is underway and more nominations are expected. In Lagos, Annie Daniels, NTA News.
Up ahead on News Extra, Benue State seeks divine intervention in its affair. This and more in just a moment. Join us again.
The Nigerian Television Authority, NTA, through its subsidiary, TV Enterprises, in partnership with Towers International Limited, will host the 3rd NTA Business Investment Forum and Exhibition on harnessing and optimizing Nigerians' natural resources through direct foreign investment, an opportunity to synergize our business relationship, strengthen diplomatic ties, exchange values and resources. We constitute an investment-friendly environment, exhibit our natural resources to global community. Date 26th to 29th of July 2016. Venue Washington DC, United States of America. Potential CEO of organizations like Google, Apple, Facebook, Amazon, Ebony, IMF, Venture Capitalist Fund, Import-Export Bank of USA, and many more will be participating on this business investment forum. For sponsorship opportunities and participation, call NTA TV Enterprise, exposing Nigeria's rich potentials to the world.
Before 2005, nothing celebrated African cinema. From 2005 to 2016 makes it exactly 12 years, we created the African Movie Academy Awards, the biggest and best awards for African cinema and people of African descent all over the world to celebrate the works that they have done in motion picture. We look forward to welcoming you to the 12th edition of the African Movie Academy Awards in Port Harcourt, Rivers State, Nigeria, known also as the Garden City, on the 11th of June. There is no other place to be.
Africa Movie Academy Award, AMA, welcomes you to Port Harcourt, the Garden City, June 11th, 2016. You're welcome.
We have always lived together as brothers and sisters. Though we speak different languages and celebrate different cultures, we were still one Nigeria. There was no bombing, there was no kidnapping, and our children were not cultists. Now, we suspect one another as there are spreads of cultism, bombing, and kidnapping. How long shall this go on? Terrorism is alien, kidnapping is criminal, cultism is barbaric. Nigeria is a blessed country. Support the Nigeria Police and the fight against terrorism, kidnapping, and cultism. Always inform the police of any incident around you. Say something when you suspect something.
Remember, we all have a stake in building a crime-free Nigeria of our dream.
This message is from the Nigeria Police Force.
Thank you for being there. A 2-week fasting and prayer for the dedication of Benue State has ended in Makurdi. Achigili Magaji reports that the prayer was initiated by Governor Samuel Otom.
The grand finale featured songs of praise presented by various groups. In their exhortations, Brother Billy Akoni and Pastor Paul Enenche observed that it is the first time the people of Benue State have come together to commit the affairs of the state to God. They said because of this step of faith, God will take over the affairs of the state and fight its battles.
Since we are gathered to carry Benue in his hand, the Lord Almighty will appear for us. If we are coming to a point as a state where our will is surrendered and submerged in the will of our Maker.
The state chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend Akmenleba, underscored the importance of the event in turning around the fortunes of the state for good. For Governor Samuel Otom, it is in line with keeping his covenant with the people of Benue by leading with the fear of God.
Let me publicly declare that the Lord has been good. He has blessed us and given us more reasons to trust Him, not only now, but as long as I live.
The state government had declared 2 weeks of prayers and fasting on May 16 to seek the face of God as it strives to address the challenges confronting it. In Makudi, Achiglimagaji, NTN News.
There's sports ahead after this break. Do join us again.
The production, distribution and sale of counterfeit and fake drugs is a corrupt practice and a crime against humanity. This has informed several measures and strategies to combat fake drugs, including introduction of anti-counterfeiting cutting-edge technologies to detect fake drugs on the spot. These technologies are being deployed to all the states across the Federation, as well as the internally displaced people's camps. The President, Muhammadu Buhari, and his team are committed to this fight.
The federal government of Nigeria, in line with its anti-corruption agenda and posture, will fight a total war against fake drugs and other unwholesome regulated products in order to ensure that Nigerians remain healthy and well.
Lend your support and join NAFDAC to rid the country of fake drugs and unwholesome regulated products. NAFDAC, safeguarding the health of the nation.
Welcome back. Moving on to the foreign scene now. 2 members of parliament among 10 people killed as Al-Shabaab gunmen attack a hotel in the center of Somali's capital, Mogadishu, after a car bomb attack. More reports on Global Tidbits with Ronke Kolawole.
In Uganda, report says the 5 suspects are acquitted on charges related to the 2010 bomb attacks which killed 74 people in the capital Kampala, were rearrested for allegedly creating documents and materials while in prison to assist co-conspirators to undertake terror acts. And on Syrian conflicts, the US-backed Kurdish and Arab fighters have opened up a new front close to the Turkish border against the Islamic State with the aim of cutting weapons and fighter supply across the border. Meanwhile, the United Nations aid convoy has reached the besieged Syrian town of Daraya for the first time since November 2012, owing to the Syrian government's reluctance to allow aid into the area. And still crime, Robert Bates, the 74-year-old ex-police officer who mistakenly killed an unarmed black man, Eric Harris, has been sentenced to 4 years in prison in the United States. Elsewhere, the head of regional body of the Organization of American States, OAS, Luis Almagro, has called an emergency meeting over what he called Venezuela's institutional crisis, a move that could lead to the expulsion of the country from the OAS. The Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, however, dismissed the step as meddling. In London, scientists have formulated a new study where dogs can sniff out chemicals in people infected with malaria. For Global Tidbits, Ronke Kolawole, NT News.
And on the sports scene, Nigeria Football Federation set to build on Super Eagles' winning streak in the 2018 World Cup qualifier as Nigeria Olympic Committee unveils online media partner for the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. Details with Kene Emma Abodike on Sports Update.
General Secretary of the Nigeria Football Federation, Mohammed Sanusi, says the federation will build upon the winning streak of the Super Eagles in the friendlies against Mali and Luxembourg as the team vies to book a place in the 2018 FIFA World Cup in Russia. The Eagles continued their victory song with a 3-1 defeat of Luxembourg Tuesday.
We keep on improving day by day, an indication that our program is working well and our focus is actually on track.
A 7-man board of the FCT's Women Association, headed by Miriam Damisa Izulo, has been inaugurated, bringing the total of sports associations in the FCT to 23.
Before the end of the year, we would have a swimming tournament, a swim meet, comprising of all the schools in Abuja.
The Nigeria Olympic Committee has officially unveiled the Team Niger project as its online media partner for the 2016 Rio Olympic Games. Performing the unveiling midweek in Abuja, President of the committee, Habu Gumel, said the project is designed to build support, love and endorsement of the Nigerian contingent and participation at the Games.
At the end of it, so that we can at least achieve our aims and objectives, that is by raising funding to support the Team Nigeria.
Meanwhile, this year's celebration of the Olympic Day has been scheduled to hold on the 2nd of July across the Federation. Organizers of the event, the Nigeria Sport for All Commission, say the program has been broken down in stages of 3 kilometers, 6 kilometers and 10 kilometers to accommodate everybody.
Exercise holds a lot of promises to helping mankind to stay healthy through sports as a way of life.
It is interesting to note that over the last 2 decades, the event has helped spread the Olympic ideas to every corner of the world, with majority of states in Nigeria taking advantage of the occasion to share the Olympic spirit with people of all ages. With Sports Update, Keneyima Bodike, NTN News. And from Lagos comes a report that multiple marathon runner Fadeshola Adebayo has arrived there after completing an intensive marathon race from Abuja. The race is meant to create awareness on the need for a comprehensive health reform and to promote research into Stevens-Johnson syndrome in the country. Musa Toliat tells us more.
25-year-old Fadeshola Adebayo began his multiple marathon race on May 13, 2016. In Abuja. The intensive marathon race, which took him 17 days, was informed by the need to raise the sum of $1 million to boost research on Stevens-Johnson syndrome, an allergic reaction to precautionary medication. The need to sensitize Nigerians on the benefits of an enduring health sector reforms, which he believes can help stem the tide of brain drain in the health sector, as well as reduce capital flight, were part of the reasons that necessitated this overwhelming task. Fadeshola's arrival in Lagos was greeted by resounding ovation as family and well-wishers took turn to catch a glimpse of the multiple marathon runner.
Stevens-Johnson syndrome is a disease that killed my brother, and I don't want anyone to feel the same pain that me and my family felt. Most people said it was impossible, with everybody doubting me. There's nothing that the youth in Nigeria can't do.
Stevens-Johnson syndrome is an allergic reaction. You can react to a medicine, and you cannot predict the medicine that you are going to react to.
What he is doing and what he has done is to make awareness, number one, and also to raise funds for research.
The government of Lagos is going to educate a lot and going to work together with our health sector.
Some medical practitioners, however, shed more light on the effort by Fadeshola to sensitize Nigerians on Stevens-Johnson syndrome.
It often starts like a flu-like symptom, fever, fatigue, sore throat, and that makes a lot of doctors miss it easily. Then it progresses to a red and purplish rash that within hours and days has covered the whole body. Viral infection, other infections could include a couple of bacterial infections that have to do with the sore throat that now lead to that also.
Simple pain relief analgesics like acetaminophen, ibuprofen, some people can also react to it and come down with this syndrome. This syndrome most times is an emergency because it could actually spread all over the body and it could be very dangerous. And so for any patient that has it, there's a need to get to the hospital on time, and after the doctor must have made his diagnosis, most times the patient will be on admission.
Fadeshola Adebayo covered a total of 748 kilometers from Abuja to Lagos. In Lagos, Musa Toliat, NTA News.
Time now for a quick check on the weather picture across the country.
Hello and welcome. Cloudy morning is anticipated in most parts of the country, although a few cases of rainfall activities are not unlikely. And onto the forecast, we anticipate partly cloudy to cloudy conditions in most parts of the country, with few cases of thunderstorms around the Mambila-Benue axis. The southeastern coast will witness some localized thunderstorms, places like Eket, Calabar, Port Harcourt axis. Later in the day, we expect thunderstorms around the northeastern axis, the high grounds of the central cities, and also the northwestern axis. The southern cities also are not left out with related thunderstorms. My name is Oluchukwu.
Your primary mandate is to pursue gender-sensitive legislations that will improve the lives of women, particularly your sisters in the rural areas.
The wife of the president had organized similar reception for artisans, semi-skilled workers and other disadvantaged members of the society like orphans, the elderly and association of KK operators. The essence of the meeting, the wife of the president said, was to appreciate their support and to express love and care in the spirit of Ramadan.
I will use this opportunity to appreciate you for the untiring efforts and of course your votes that contributed to the success of our great party.
With the conclusion of Ramadan, the wife of the president joined other Muslims faithful to perform Eid al-Fitr prayer at Ansaruddin Mosque, Abuja. She offered prayer for peace, unity and development of the country.
We thank God for making it possible for us to witness the end of Ramadan, and Eid Mubarak to all Nigerians. Also not to relent on good deeds, charity, hard work, supporting each other.
Thereafter, Mrs. Buhari hosted Nigerian children to a Salah reception where she urged them to pursue their studies seriously towards becoming responsible leaders of tomorrow. Similarly, the wife of the president visited the children's home at Gwagwalada to share the joy of Salah festivities with the orphans. She called on all Nigerians to support the less privileged. In furtherance of her commitment to bringing succor to women and children in Nigeria, Mrs. Buhari invited critical stakeholders in the business of improving the health of women, children and other vulnerable groups in the society to unveil her action plan. This includes the MDAs such as Federal Ministries of Health and Women Affairs, Primary Healthcare Development Agency and other non-governmental organizations like the Dangote, the Melinda and Bill Gates and the Anjuma Foundations, as well as other development partners comprising UNICEF, UNFPA, World Bank and World Health Organization, WHO. The idea was to rub minds to come up with a common platform that could be used in addressing the health challenges of women and children in Nigeria. This paved way for the unveiling of a comprehensive document on strategic partnership aimed at supporting reproductive, maternal, child health as well as for adolescents and nutrition matters.
These gloomy outlooks as regards the health of women and children provides more than enough reason for a holistic and concerted action to accelerate the efforts in order to change the status quo and also sustain the gains already made.
The program was given due attention by the stakeholders from the MDAs, wives of the governors and other development partners. It was early this year the wife of the president met with the Nigerian governors' wives in a step to further demonstrate her commitment to take the initiative of improving lives of women and children to the grassroots. The meeting ended with the formation of the two bodies of the Governor's Wives, that is, Northern Governor's Wives Forum, chaired by the wife of the Zamfara State Governor Asma'u Abdulaziz Yari, and the Southern Governor's Wives Forum, headed by the wife of Imo State Governor Nkechi Rochas Okorocha. In a quest to improve the cause of women and children, in October 2015, accompanied by the wife of the Vice President and some of the Governor's wives, Mrs. Buhari was in Geneva, Switzerland to attend an international conference on transitional crime organized by an international non-governmental organization known as Trans Montana Forum. The wife of the President presented a paper on the role of women in the fight against terrorism.
Mothers are the closest people to our children. The mothers are the closest. If there's any sign of, a behavioral changes, a mother will be the first person to know. So we need to educate the mothers.
In her support to the victims of insurgency, the wife of the president paid a visit to Dolari IDP camp in Maiduguri, Borno State, where over 2,000 victims of insurgency are taking refuge. She used the period to donate relief materials to the victims and urged Nigerians and other corporate organizations to support the IDPs. Mrs. Buhari inaugurated a 12-member female committee responsible for the distribution of the relief materials under the leadership of the wife of the Borno State Governor, Nana Kashim Shettima.
So far, so good. And we have reached out to, I would say, more than 3,000 beneficiaries or so. We decided to reach out to our pregnant IDP's mothers, about 500 of them. And also we have reached out to the southern part of the state.
In demonstration of her commitment, the wife of the president flagged off the health screening program in Calabar, the Cross River State capital, in the South-South region. The idea was to reach out to all the parts of the country. The exercise covers high blood pressure checks, blood sugar screening, breast examination, as well as cervical cancer screening. A similar gesture was extended to women in Yola, the Adamawa State capital in the northeast region. This is in addition to eye and dental examination, as well as medication for skin-related diseases, granted the depth of facilities for attending to cancer patients. While at the Palace of Lamido, Mrs. Buhari explained her intention to cater for over 2,000 women in the grassroots of the state in an effort to improve their health status. On a sympathetic visit, Mrs. Buhari was at the Federal Medical Center Yola, where inmates of Malkohi IDP camp were hospitalized. While praying for their quick recovery, she urged Nigerians to support them. In a related development, Mrs. Buhari visited the center where about 12,000 HIV/AIDS patients are receiving medical attention at the National Hospital, Abuja. The wife of the president gave them words of confidence that life would be the better for them. She donated some food items and other essential commodities to support them.
They should be taking their drugs on time, eating healthy, like eating a lot of vegetables and fruits than carbohydrates, and also some form of exercise so that it will get rid of the toxins of the drugs that they are taking. We're urging of well-meaning Nigerians to come to their aid by giving them, some support in order to have a normal life.
In a similar gesture, the wife of the president paid a visit to Kubwa General Hospital in celebration of the 2015 Christmas season. The idea behind the visit, the wife of the president said, was to share the joy of Yuletide with the patient. Still within the year under review, Mrs. Buhari visited 44 reference hospital of the Nigerian Army Kaduna, where wounded soldiers, mostly victims of insurgency, were receiving treatment. She was at various wards and departments of the hospital and prayed for their quick recovery.
I would like to seize the opportunity to pray for the serving officers for their safe return to their various families.
The hospital management reaffirmed their commitment to sustain the tempo demanded of their national assignment. Still in December 2015, the wife of the president hosted a segment of the Nigerian youth known as social media change agents to a reception in appreciation of their contribution and support for bringing into power the present administration. Mrs. Buhari urged them to sustain the tempo for this administration to succeed.
To this end, I would like you to be more creative and innovative in devising means of addressing some of our societal challenges.
Still within the year in review, represented by the Minister of Women Affairs, Aisha Jummai Alhassan, the wife of the president organized a reception for children for 2016 New Year festivities, giving them that matters to child feelings.
Put your hands together for them. Clap, clap, clap for mommy.
She urged the children to be good ambassadors of their families.
Her Excellency said I should tell you to tell your parents to pray for Nigeria. You too, when you are praying in the morning and in the evening, and when you go to church, to prayers, to Sunday school, you should always remember Mr. President, remember your parents, remember Nigeria, and remember all your friends and family and all of us.
I ate some food and I got some presents. I climbed the bouncing castle. I had so much fun.
It was awesome, and I would like to thank Mama Buhari for this wonderful party.
I'm very happy. And I'm also glad I came here. I have fun. I enjoyed the party.
In a quest to improve the health status of people living with sickle cell disorder, the wife of the president, in conjunction with Olusegun Obasanjo Foundation, jointly organized a public lecture in commemoration of International Sickle Cell Day set aside by the United Nations. The wife of the Vice President presented her message.
In view of this, I wish to call for more kind-hearted actions to be extended to other parts of the country. Therefore, establishing a center of excellence which would be equivalent in standard to those in advanced countries can be located in the states of Borno and Yobe states, where studies show we have the largest number of sickle cell trait with a prevalence of 27.9% and 32.6% respectively.
Similarly, Mrs. Aisha Buhari attended the first Cancer Summit in Nigeria organized by the Federal Ministry of Health in collaboration with the Cancer Education and Advocacy of Nigeria in an effort to controlling the epidemic. She was represented by the wife of the Vice President, Mrs. Dolapo Oshinbajo.
This vision clearly aligns perfectly with the objective of my project, Future Assured, which somehow positively correlates with the 2015 Cancer Summit theme, Stop Breast Cancer from Taking Her Life.
On the control of sickle cell disorder, the wife of the president under her Future Assured program paid a visit to Katsina State, which has recorded the highest number of cases of the disorder in the region, with the hope of reducing its prevalence there. Over 2,000 school children were screened for sickle cell disorder. The wife of the president encouraged them to always contact the nearest health facility to know their genotype before marriage. Katsina State government promised to partner the NGO of the wife of the president for the children's future to be assured. Still on the improvement of lot of women and children, it received a boost in Enugu State courtesy of the initiative of the wife of the president in November last year. She flagged off the health screening of over 2,000 women on various elements covering cancer screening for cervical and the breast, high blood pressure, blood sugar, dental, eye, kidney and urine tests. The gesture, according to the wife of the governor, was bringing hope to the hopeless. In February this year, Mrs. Buhari was at Birnin Kebbi State to flag off the maternal, newborn and child health week aimed at improving the health status of women and children. Mrs. Buhari commissioned one of the 68 healthcare centers upgraded by the wife of the governor, Dr. Zainab Bagudu. Mrs. Buhari also commissioned General Hospital in Jega, named after her, and distributed some relief materials to IDPs in the state to cushion the effect of their hardship.
She's working in partnership with the wives of the governors, and our roles as mothers in the state and her role as the mother of the nation is very vital in national development as a whole. And her initiative, the Future Assured initiative, has been working at state level and thereby reaching the grassroots level in the health sector, in a lot of areas where it has touched on women and children and youth in particular.
In March 2016, the health screening initiative under the Future Assured program of the wife of the president screened over 2,000 women in Abuja, the Ogun State capital, for the benefit of the women of the state. The exercise was basically on free eye screening to control eye-related diseases. The personal physician to the wife of the president, Dr. Abdurrahman Muhammad Kamal, represented her. The screening attracted the participation of volunteers in medical profession. Governor Bikule Amosu and his wife Olufunsho said the program will surmount the health challenges of women in the state. On April 19 this year, in Calabar, the Cross River State capital, the wife of the president officially flagged off maternal, newborn and child health week, Project Future Assured, as well as Mediatrix Foundation, which is the initiative of the wife of the governor targeted at women and children. Mrs. Buhari was crowned as ambassador of maternal, child health and newborn baby by the women of Cross River State. The wife of the president also commissioned maternal and child health clinic upgraded by the wife of the governor of Cross River State. In April of this year, the Future Assured initiative train moved to Ibadan, the Oyo State capital, where over 2,500 women were screened on various elements.
Let me at this point call on the entire citizens of this country to be proactive in seeking medical attention by going to health facilities for regular medical checkups.
The governor of the state, Abiola Ajimobi, and his wife, Florence, promised to take the program to all the local government areas of the state.
The wife of the president's program is a welcome one, and it's very all-encompassing, which the state is very proud to complement and support.
This is important in achieving our overall agenda of gender parity and women emancipation.
Still within the year in review, Mrs. Buhari was represented at the launch of the UNFPA-UNICEF joint program on the need for abandoning of female genital mutilation in Nigeria. Stakeholders, especially from the health sector, promised to work in synergy to end the ugly trend. Within the first quarter of 2016, the wife of the president flagged off the Nigerian Rebirth Project, which the organizers said was to promote peaceful coexistence, discipline and tolerance amongst Nigerians, as well as to project the good image of the country to the rest of the world. Mrs. Buhari, who was earlier in a video clip blessed the program, urged the organizers to remain steadfast in teaching moral values to the children. The wife of the president, who was represented by the wife of the vice president, Mrs. Dolapo Shinbajo, unveiled the Nigerian Rebirth Art Piece. Stakeholders in the project reiterated their commitment to remain focused for a prosperous nation. It was in April of this year, the wife of the president, Mrs. Aisha Muhammad Buhari, formally presented her first publication, which was a book entitled The Essentials of Beauty Therapy, geared towards providing a first-hand information to students and other practitioners of beauty therapy. The idea, according to the wife of the president, was to use the proceeds and the revenue that could be generated from the sales of the book to support the parent of the missing Chibok school girls and the slaughtered children of Boniadi Boys School, as well as to support malnourished children at the IDPs. In a bid to further strengthen bilateral relations with women in other countries, Mrs. Buhari organized a cocktail in honor of the wives of the heads of foreign missions in Nigeria that attracted the participation of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Khadija Bokar Abba Ibrahim, Head of Service of the Federation, Winifred Oyoita, and Nigerian female lawmakers. In a related development, Mrs. Buhari hosted the First Lady of Turkey, Emine Erdogan, to further strengthen the bilateral relations between Nigeria and Turkey and to promote the cause of women. They interactively brainstormed on areas of mutual interest such as girl-child education, poverty eradication, advocacy for women's rights and women participation in governance and other decision-making processes. The wife of the president and the First Lady of Turkey paid a visit to Al-Ummah Orphanage, where over 5,000 orphans are being cared for courtesy of Turkish Cooperation and Coordination Agency TICA. In a similar way, Mrs. Buhari hosted the First Lady of Cameroon, Chantal Biya, where they demonstrated commitment to improve the lives of women and children. Similarly, the wife of the president, represented by the wife of the vice president, donated food items and other essential commodities to the children of Al-Ummah Orphanage, as well as Mother Teresa Children's Home in Gwarimpa in commemoration of 2016 International Women's Day, as galvanizing fulcrum for motherhood in Nigeria and as a product of northeastern part of the country and in determination of her commitment to improve the lives of people, especially those in the difficult moment of life. Mrs. Buhari submitted a position paper at the public hearing of the National Assembly, supporting the bill for the establishment of the Northeast Development Commission, sponsored by Speaker of the House of Representatives Yakubu Dogara. Mrs. Buhari urged all Nigerians to support establishment of the commission as a matter of kind-heartedness.
What is contained in her presentation, apart from giving her full support to the National Assembly to institutionalize this framework, she also requested the National Assembly to actually pay special attention on the issue of women.
It was on the 17th of May, the wife of the president took a bold step in leading critical stakeholders in the health sector in an advocacy to end tuberculosis in Nigeria. To this end, the global partners comprising Stop TB Partnership Nigeria, Stop TB Partnership Geneva, United Nations Special Envoy on TB, WHO, USAID and the National TB and Leprosy Control Program met with the wife of the president. It was on the same day the wife of the president fulfilled the promise she made earlier